Maxing out your RRSP might be the biggest mistake you're making with your paycheck. Asterisk. One small shift in the order you fund your accounts could get you to retirement 5 full years earlier, and your bank will never sit you down and explain why. Picture two sisters in Winnipeg. Same house growing up, same college diploma, same starting salary at 26 asterisk. One of them puts every spare dollar into her RRSP because that's what her dad always did. Asterisk. The other splits her contributions differently, leaning harder into her TFSA in her 20s before shifting the balance later. Asterisk. 20 years pass. Same income the whole way through, same market returns, same discipline. Asterisk. And yet one sister retires with a bigger number, a smaller tax bill, and 5 extra years of freedom the other one doesn't get. Same effort, same paycheck, wildly different finish line. Here's the hidden truth nobody explains at the bank. The RRSP and the TFSA are not two flavors of the same account. Asterisk. They are two completely different machines, built to solve two completely different problems. And using them in the wrong order quietly costs Canadians years of their working life. So let's break down the actual mechanism, because this is where most people get lost. An RRSP is a tax deferral tool. When you contribute, the government hands you a deduction right now, which lowers what you owe the CRA this year. Asterisk. But that money isn't tax-free. It's tax postponed. Every dollar that comes out in retirement gets taxed as regular income at whatever rate you're sitting at then. Asterisk. A TFSA works in the opposite direction. You contribute with money you've already paid tax on, but from that point forward, the CRA has no claim on it. Not on the growth, not on the withdrawal, not ever. Asterisk. One account delays the tax bill. The other one erases it completely on whatever you put inside. Now here's where it gets interesting. The entire game comes down to one question almost nobody asks themselves before they contribute. Asterisk. What tax bracket am I in today? And what tax bracket will I actually be in when I take this money out? Asterisk. If your income is modest right now, say in your 20s or early 30s, an RRSP deduction might only be saving you a small percentage in tax. Asterisk. But if you leave that money to compound for 30 years and then pull it out in retirement while also collecting CPP, oh yes, and maybe a workplace pension, you could easily land in a higher combined tax situation than you started in. Asterisk. You deferred the tax. You didn't avoid it. In some cases, you made it worse. Let's look at real numbers, because vague math is how people get fooled. Say a 30-year-old earning $60,000 a year puts $500 a month into her TFSA instead of her RRSP for the first 10 years of her career. Asterisk. At a reasonable long-term average return, that decade of contributions alone can grow into roughly $100,000 by the time she's 40. Asterisk. That's not a small side account anymore. That's real capital, sitting somewhere the CRA can never touch it. Not now, not at withdrawal. Not when it bumps up against other retirement income later. Asterisk. Compare that to the same $500 going into an RRSP the whole time. She gets a tax refund each year, sure. Often only a few $100s given her bracket. Asterisk. But every cent of that account, growth included, is fully taxable the day she starts drawing it down. Here's the part that trips almost everyone up, and it's pure behavioral psychology. Canadians love the RRSP because it feels like an instant reward. Asterisk. You contribute, you file your taxes, and a refund lands in your account a few weeks later. That refund feels like winning. It feels like proof you made the right move. Asterisk. But that refund isn't free money. It's a loan from your future self, and future you is the one who eventually pays it back. Usually at a moment when you have far less control over your income and far less flexibility to manage the tax hit. Asterisk. People chase the dopamine of the refund and completely ignore the mechanics of what happens 20 or 30 years down the line. But here's the catch nobody mentions when they're pushing you toward one account or the other. This isn't actually an either-or decision. Asterisk. The 5-year advantage doesn't come from picking a side. Asterisk. It comes from sequencing. Early in your career, when your income and your tax bracket are lower. Asterisk. The TFSA is almost always the stronger move, because you're not giving up much of a deduction anyway. Asterisk. And you want decades of tax-free compounding working in your favor. Asterisk. As your income climbs into your 30s and 40s and your bracket gets more expensive, the RRSP deduction becomes genuinely powerful, because now you're deferring tax at a high rate today with a real chance of paying less later. Asterisk. The households that retire earliest aren't the ones who picked a religion and stuck with it forever. They're the ones who shifted the mix as their income moved. there's another layer most people miss entirely. And it's the one that actually produces the 5-year gap. Asterisk, when you retire holding a large RRSP and a large mandatory RIF withdrawal on top of CPP and OAS, you can accidentally push your income high enough to trigger the OAS clawback. Asterisk, where the government starts taking back your old age security once your income crosses a certain threshold. Asterisk, a retiree who built a bigger TFSA balance instead has a levered the RRSP-only retiree doesn't. TFSA withdrawals don't count as income at all. Asterisk, they don't touch your tax bracket. They don't trigger any clawback. Asterisk, that means a retiree with a well-built TFSA can pull thousands of dollars a year to fund their lifestyle completely invisibly to the CRA. While the RRSP-heavy retiree is stuck reporting every dollar and watching benefits shrink. Asterisk, that invisible flexibility is worth real years of working life, because it means you need less total capital to sustain the same spending. So what does the actual solution look like for someone starting today? Asterisk, in your 20s and early 30s. Lean toward the TFSA first, especially if your income is under the mid-tax brackets. Asterisk, once your salary climbs into a materially higher bracket, start directing more toward the RRSP and treat the refund you get back as fuel, immediately reinvesting it rather than spending it, ideally back into the TFSA. Asterisk, in your final working decade, look at your projected retirement income including CPP, OAS, and any pension, and start deliberately building your TFSA balance up so you have that tax-free lever ready the day you stop working. Asterisk, it's not complicated math. It's just math almost nobody sits down to actually run. Here's the real lesson underneath all of it. Money was never really the goal. Asterisk, time is the goal. Every dollar you shelter properly, every unnecessary tax bill you avoid. Asterisk, every year you shave off the distance between where you are and the day you stop trading your hours for a paycheck. That's what this is actually about. Asterisk, the two sisters in Winnipeg didn't win because one of them was smarter or luckier. Asterisk, one of them simply understood which account was built for which decade of her life, and she let that understanding buy her back 5 years nobody can ever hand her twice. If this changed how you think about your own contributions, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Asterisk, because next time we're breaking down the CRA rule that quietly costs married Canadian couples thousands of dollars a year, and almost nobody files their taxes the way that actually protects them.